Did you do this?
No, I did not.
Hey, you guys, this is Jules. Everything is alleged. So we did our almost 5-hour live review of the 11/17/2022 interview with DuCoeur. We learned quite a few things. We heard the conversation about the 17-minute phone call. We found out somebody was trying to buy Kaylee's nude photos from him back in September. Somebody was also trying to get photos of Maddie from the so-say fake accounts. We know that time frame is also the time frame that we know there was a lunch that Kaylee went to with several girls who remember Kaylee telling them a story about a stalker type situation. They don't remember the details, but all of them collectively remember it being in September. And this stuff about the photos was 2 months prior to the murders, which would have been September. Very important information in my opinion, but we learned a lot of other things as well. This came to me in 3 sections. The first one is almost like an hour and a half. It's 80 something minutes long. So I have part 1 right here, no commentary. I will have a link in the description box for the full review, live review with all the commentary down in the description box. I will have part 2 and part 3 posted over the next 2 days. So keep your notification bells on. And again, this is how it was sent to me in these 3 pieces. The only thing I've done here is run it through my editor 3 times now at this point in order to get the volume raised, because Jack is pretty much whispering in this entire thing. So I really did the best I could, guys.
Okay, it is Thursday, November 17th, 2022. It's 10:03 a.m. This is Detective Sergeant Mike Van Leuven with the Idaho State Police. With me is Detective Rich Alderson, and we're here interviewing with at the District 1 office. I'd like to start, I think, by just recapping what we talked about already, and if I got anything wrong, then correct me so this is all accurate. And I know this is a little disjointed, but this is just the way our conversation went in order. So first we sort of talked about your relationship with the other folks that were there in the house. So Kaylee was your girlfriend, and you broke up. I apologize, let me put this on mute. Kaylee was your girlfriend, and you broke up approximately 3 months ago. And that you had attended school with Madison. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You knew Xana, and you'd worked with Xana. You met Ethan, didn't know him very well, exchanged Snapchats. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
You were born, you went to church. You went for a year.
For a year.
For a year, okay. You went to you'd started dating Kaylee. She was taking a job in Austin. Your breakup was a mutual decision. There was no drama involved. Then we moved to the day that this happened, and you said you worked for the and you went to work on Saturday the 12th from about 2:20 p.m. and you got off at 10:30. You worked mostly in the kitchen. After that, you'd gone to the corner club and dropped off a pizza for your roommate. And then you went home after that. Your roommates, you live in a mostly you communicate using, but you did give me 3 of the forced telephone numbers. Your vehicle is and after that you drove home to where you stay, and nobody was downstairs, so you went upstairs. Your upstairs neighbors, all of your roommates are all.
It's not one of the roommates up there. It's just a friend. Yeah.
And then that's the next, and then also was there, and that's the next thing I was going to say, is that all those guys are all. Is that right? They said that they were going to go to the corner club, so you went downstairs, changed your sweatshirt, got a beer, put some deodorant on, and you were waiting for your fraternity's sober driver to show up. And you don't remember who that person is, but you think that he was driving in. And you and Nate in that vehicle to the corner club. You arrived at the corner club approximately 11 p.m. The place was packed and there was a line outside, but your roommate and fraternity brother was working there, so he got you in. You got into a confrontation with a guy named who was because he was messing with one of your friends, pulling their hair or something like that. And stepped in and sort of told you to back off, and you and came to some sort of a peace and bought each other a shot of tequila. You saw Kaylee at the corner club. You don't know who she arrived with or who she left with. You don't know whether she got there first or you got there first. It was common to see Kaylee at the corner club.
I'll say one thing.
Yep.
As far as I know, just based off like the video from the grub truck and stuff, I believe that Kaylee and Maddie might have left the bar with just because they enter the camera, just them 3 together, and then he steps back as they go up to order, and then.
And I want to talk more about him.
Okay.
That's definitely a topic of conversation today. Is. But do you remember seeing at the corner club?
I don't know.
Did you know him enough that if he was there, you would have said, "Hey"? I mean, could he have been there and you just wouldn't have noticed?
I didn't even know his name until I recognized the kid in the video, and I sent that screenshot to a friend, and they said, "Yeah, I believe that's." Joe. And then I looked up his name, and I kind of put the faces to match, and that's how I got that. But I probably wouldn't have even noticed or like thought of anything if I did lay eyes on him there.
Because you didn't know him?
No, not really.
Okay. So let's wait for that, because I want to talk about him. But let's finish this recap first. Girls that were friends of Kaylee's that you did remember seeing at the bar with her were coincidentally was a girlfriend of. Were those 3 all?
Yeah.
Okay. I asked what you talked about with Kaylee. You said hi, and you talked about the tussle you got in with her, and that you left the corner club about 1 a.m. In total, you'd had, before getting there, You went outside, and your sober driver, who was the freshman from your house, he'd gotten pulled over by the police. And you had too many people to get in the car since the cops were there, so you held back with some of your friends and called for a ride to your chapter. Said that the freshman could be done for the night, and he drove himself and came and picked you up. And it was you and I'm not sure whether those were the ones that he picked up or those were the ones that you hung out with when you got back to your house.
Those are the ones that I hung out with when I was back at my house.
Do you remember who picked you when picked you up? Who was in the car?
I'm fairly certain that it was, but I can't be sure about anyone else.
Okay. So when you came back to the house and you hung out with your friends, you said you had an urge to throw up. You tried, but you couldn't. You had a couple. And so you went into your room and shut the door and you fell asleep. And that you woke at about 11:30. You were there with and that came in and talked about the cops being outside, and at that point you tried to call Kaylee.
Mm-hmm. That's right after we stepped outside of our house just to kind of see what was going on from.
Do you remember anything after until you shut your door and went to bed? Do you remember anything else that happened in there?
In my room and
okay.
Also, but
okay, let's come back to that. You said Kaylee moved into the house where she was at the beginning of the summer, and it was the first time that she'd ever lived there.
Yeah.
Then you drew the sketch of the apartment that we talked about, and you identified the other roommates as. Or I don't know, but
I'm not sure either.
Okay. And that you remember that Kaylee's older told you that and were together when the event happened. So we talked about other people that were there. You walked down the street and you said, but you didn't know if it was a of Ethan's or not. But that you identified as, and you think that he was the one that called 911. You asked the officers about what happened, and the first couple officers rebuffed you, and the third officer that you encountered, you told him that you were Kaylee's ex, and he put you in the back of a patrol car for about 45 minutes. And then at some point let you out, and you sat on the curb with and
was also there.
Who?
Girlfriend.
I thought that was her girlfriend.
No. I have been a little bit confused about who it is, but is a good friend of. She's the same pledge class as them in Pi.
So when I put girl boyfriend, that's not true. It's boyfriend.
Yeah, correct.
And who is?
She is one of Xana's best friends. She lived with Xana last year. I'm not super close with her, but I know she's friends with as well.
Where does she live?
I know it's close by. Might be the White's apartments there, but I don't know.
But she was there with you that
morning after, yeah.
Okay, and then you said who lived across the street that she came out to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And also Ethan's came.
Mm-hmm.
And then U of I put out a text announcing that there had been a homicide, and that upset you guys because the cops at that point hadn't even told you that a homicide had occurred. Okay. And then we talked about people that you were concerned that might have done this, and you talked about and we'll talk about both of them further. So try to remember as much detail as you can. When you got home and you hung out with your friends, what time? You said you left the bar at about 1 a.m. What time do you think you got back to your house?
I'm not very sure, but my best guess is a little after 1.
And who all was there exactly?
At my house.
Mm-hmm. That was with you?
Nick and Jim were the only two that I spoke to after being home before going to bed.
And what did hanging out with them look like? Were you sitting down on a couch watching TV, or?
Yeah, we kind of have 2 living rooms, one in the main floor, one in the basement, and my bedroom's on the main floor, right next to that living room. And sat on these couches for a few minutes. I think it was probably about 10, 15 minutes between the time I got home from when I went to bed.
Excuse me. Okay, so you'd had some to drink. Okay, so a little after 1, 10 to 15 minutes. So what time do you think that you finally went into your bedroom, shut the door, and went to bed?
1:20 would be my best guess.
Did you have any contact with anybody else that you recall after that until you woke up the next morning?
No.
Do you remember Kaylee calling you or texting you?
No.
You have no memory of that? Okay, so last night they sent me printouts from your phone.
You said you missed calls.
Yeah, I had, when I woke up, this was even after I found out about, after everything happened, I noticed my phone had, I think, 4 missed FaceTime calls from Kaylee and 3 missed calls from Maddie, along with, I think, 2 more missed calls from Kaylee, so 7 calls from Kaylee and 3 from Maddie.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. How many?
7 missed calls from Kaylee and 3 from Maddie. 4 of Kaylee's were a FaceTime.
7 from Kaylee and 3 from Maddie.
Yeah.
And which 4 of the calls from Kaylee were FaceTime calls. Got it. And none of them from Maddie were FaceTime? They were all just normal calls?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that normal for y'all to communicate via FaceTime or phone, or what's the preferred method?
Kaylee would call me off the hook quite often. It's not normal for Maddie just to call me, especially 3 times in the middle of the night. But yeah, I mean, Kaylee has called me in the past when like she's like walking home and she's just like feels like she's being followed or something. She'll just like give me a call and just like want to have someone on the phone.
Okay. Did you and Kaylee have any sort of an argument the night before? At the corner club, was there any dispute?
No.
Were you upset? Okay. So I want to pull these out, and there's 2 sets of records here. There's one are phone calls coming in from Kaylee, and one are text messages coming in from Kaylee. These are all incoming to your phone, and so I point your attention to this one, which is 11/13/2022 at 2:26 a.m. And there's a call that's it's 16.88 minutes, so almost 17 minutes in duration, which was an answered call. Do you recall that call?
I do not. Is it a call from her?
Yeah, it's
What time was that?
it's the very top one. It says it was at 2:26. It was an answered telephone call, and it went on for almost 17 minutes. So do you recall that phone call?
I do not. Is there audio from that?
I doubt it, but I don't know. They just emailed this to me and said, ask him about this. So.
Does it say if it was FaceTime or if it was a regular phone call? Can you tell?
Yeah, it says, if you look here, it says, if it's a FaceTime, it says FaceTime. And if it's just a phone call, it says just phone. So it looks like it was a phone call that was answered, 2:26, went on for that many seconds.
I do remember seeing that on my phone, but I do not remember answering nor.
So, let me ask. Let me ask you again. Have you ever had an experience where, after drinking, you've had a phone call or you've done something or went somewhere and you didn't remember it until the next day, and you realized that this had happened, but you didn't really remember it?
No, I've never had something like that.
So this phone call, that's what I'm trying to get at, is could you have answered the call and maybe didn't really have a conversation and just set the phone down and it went on until Kaylee or somebody hung up or you hung up? I mean, how do we explain this, I guess is what I'm asking.
How you just explained it is my best guess of what happened. Or I thought it was like an alarm or something and just smashed my side button on my phone. I'm not sure.
Okay. And then the second group here are text messages. Let's go back a few days. So, do you remember receiving a text message from her in the early morning hours of Sunday, the 13th?
I saw the text at the same time I saw the missed calls.
The next morning?
Correct.
Okay, so this shows, and what was the subject matter contents of that text that you recall?
She had my vape, and she told me I can come get it.
Okay, and I show that you read that message at 12:44 p.m. on the 13th, so just after noon the next day. Is that?
That's when I saw the phone calls too.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's go back. Anything else you want to cover?
Not from that.
Okay. And I'm going to continue focusing on you a little bit here. Did you do this?
No, I did not.
You did not do this.
I did not do this.
Is it possible that you did this and you don't remember because you were drunk?
No.
When you woke up the next day, were there any signs on your body? Was there blood on your body, blood on your clothes, anything like that?
No.
Okay. Do you have any weapons or specifically knives do you have any knives? Do you own any knives?
Pocket knives.
Do you own any hunting knives or fixed blade knives?
I'm not sure what that means.
A knife that doesn't fold, like a...
No.
No, you do not own any hunting knives? No military knives?
No.
Okay. Do any of your roommates own any knives like that?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, so nobody has like a Rambo kind of survival knife in a sheath?
No.
Okay. And when we talk to your roommates, they're not going to say that, oh yeah, he had this knife. We've seen it before. Okay.
Were you aware of anyone in the home that owned a hunting knife or fixed blade knife? Were there weapons in the home?
The only thing my home you speak of?
No, I'm talking the home where the murders occurred. In Kaylee and Madison and Xana's home.
No, I mean, none of them are hunters or anything like that. I didn't see anything in there that would be like that.
So somebody couldn't have come in and seen, like, oh, here's a knife. Like, they wouldn't have had any weapons laying around the house or anything.
A kitchen knife, but...
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with Ethan. When did you first become aware that Ethan was in this orbit of people?
I knew Xana had a boyfriend last year, but I never knew who he was really until he moved in to the house that he lives in, or until Xana did.
But he wasn't living there, right? He was still living his...
Yeah.
But he was coming over a lot.
I think he stayed there most nights.
Okay. So you said that he parked there commonly. That's where he left it. When did that start?
When the school year started. Because Xana lived in the house for the last month or so. But yeah, I never really even know who Ethan was until the beginning of the school year when I would see him at their house with Xana.
Did you have occasion to have a conversation with him?
Yeah, I would say hi to him every time I saw him, but I think our only real conversation was the time we exchanged Snapchats.
What was that about?
I don't remember the conversation. I just remember kind of meeting him and chatting up with him for a minute and then getting a Snapchat.
What kind of impression did you get of him as a person?
Seemed like a really nice kid. Nice to me right off the bat. Pretty outgoing. Yeah, similar personality to Xana.
How so?
Xana was just very loud, outgoing. Just had probably more friends than anyone else I know. Just could not like her.
Now, you refer to him as a kid. I just find that interesting because you're a very young man yourself. Was he was that an indication of just his attitude, or just because he was not a small guy, as I understand? He was.
No, he's not. I mean, he is a freshman, and I don't know if that's why I said that, but
yeah. Okay, I'm
no
just curious.
specific reason.
That makes sense. Did you ever know him to have any problems with other people?
No.
any problems with?
I've never heard of anything, no.
Did Xana have any ex-boyfriends that were bothered by him?
I don't know of any ex-boyfriend of Xana's. I do remember over the summer, Xana invited Kaylee and I to go on his boat, I think, but I was working and I couldn't make it.
Is that this?
I assume so, yeah. Or, I don't know, further north.
Did Kaylee go on that trip?
I don't think she ended up going, no.
You said that the next morning when you went out that his brother came over. Was his brother also?
I don't think so, just because I somewhat know. I didn't recognize him. I think he's a part of Greek life, but I don't know.
How did you know it was his brother?
He kind of looks like him, and so I just didn't know him at all.
Anything else about Ethan that you can think of?
I don't think so.
So, no, and of course it's asked, no, anybody you can think of or any knowledge, anybody that want to hurt him,
like I said, I wasn't super involved with him or his friends, so no, I didn't really know much about him or anything.
Okay. You haven't heard anything after all this, because you've been very active trying to work through this yourself. Mm-hmm. Have you heard any rumblings, or have you heard anything from anybody else of somebody that didn't like him?
No, I haven't.
Okay, let's talk about Xana. How long have you known her?
I've known of her since high school. I remember picking Kaylee up from a house party at her house in high school once. Kaylee actually got a
Are you a police officer?
Yeah, you're a cop.
I don't do college jobs.
I didn't go to a normal college.
Kaylee got it.
Yeah. I got pulled over after leaving the party, and I think someone was hiding around the corner and saw that Kaylee left the party and pulled me over.
Oh, they pulled you over and she was in the car with you?
Right.
Okay. Where was her house where was this at? When did you first, you knew of her, or you picked Kaylee up at her house one time. When did you first, start seeing her, or talking to her, having contact with her?
Probably just through, parties, and just knowing Maddie, because I know Maddie was good friends with her.
In high school or college?
College. I can't remember, the first time ever meeting her, but we knew of each other for a while, then really only, we're friends, really, and once Kaylee and Xana moved in together.
Had Xana been a roommate of Kaylee's before this year?
No.
And Kaylee hadn't lived in that house before until this year.
The only one who had lived there last year is Maddie.
Maddie had lived in that house last year. And how did that go? I mean, was each room, do you know, if you know, was each room sublet individually, or was it rented out by one person who then collected rent from other people, or how'd that work at that house?
I know it's through, which is the same property management as the one I rent through. I actually remember talking to Kaylee about this over summer because she wanted to build her credit. So she was going to try to pay the rent and just have all the girls pay her. I don't believe that ended up happening. I think they all paid rent separately.
Does cater to college students? Is that the?
I think that's most of their clientele, yeah.
So they rent you a room if you're a college student up there off campus.
Yeah. I think they actually mostly houses. I think Palouse Properties does mostly apartment complexes, but.
So, okay. Houses.
Yeah.
Do you know, where did Kaylee live before she lived there? Like last year, where'd she live?
She lived in the Whites.
In these apartments?
When you're facing the front of the building.
Okay, and where'd she live before that? In the house. Who do you think Kaylee's best friend is?
Maddie.
Does she have other friends that were similarly close, or was Maddie head and shoulders her best friend?
It's really not even close at all.
Not even close.
Maddie was like a part of Kaylee's family.
What was Maddie's take on you and Kaylee? And then on the 11th, Friday, she sends you a message, says, call me at 10:05 p.m. And then the next day at 3 in the afternoon, she says, Jack, we share a dog. Can you please answer the phone? Why aren't you answering the phone?
I'm not sure. Was I at work at that time?
I don't know.
I did work Friday night, but I didn't know if that's when you said that one.
Yeah, 11. No, this was the day before. It was Friday. Did you work on Friday too?
I work Friday, Saturday. Usually Thursday, Friday, Saturdays.
Okay. You sent her a message later that night, 11:35. Can I come over? On Friday. Did you go over there on Friday?
I didn't. I remember she called me while I was at work, and I picked up because I was just slowed down at that point, and she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm at work. She said, you should come over. And I said, okay, I think I'll be off in about 20 minutes. And I got off work, I drove home, and that's when I texted her and asked if I can come over.
Friday.
And then she said no, and I believe that I called her, and she just said it's not a good idea, because I hadn't come over really since we broke up. But we just kind of been talking a lot the last week, and yeah, she I guess changed her mind. I don't know if she's just seeing if I would come over if she asked or what, but.
And then it looks like 4 o'clock on the 12th. So this must have been while you were at work. If I got my times right. You send her a text. Do you recall that? Did she respond to that? No. What was happening that made you send her that text while you were at work?
What was your question? I'm sorry.
No, I'm not trying to interrupt you at all. My question was, where do you think she was in your relationship? Do you think she had firmly decided that this is going to end, or do you think that she had opened this up to where you were going to get back together, or she just was undecided?
I can tell by the way she acted around me, and just talked to me on the phone and over text that there's obviously still something there, and that she had at least curiosity about getting back together.
So you said earlier, Kaylee has a bright future ahead of her, or a big future. I think you said. What does that mean? Why do you say that?
She had just purchased. Sorry.
Okay.
She obviously just got her new car. She had a 6-figure job lined up right out of school. She was planning, she had an apartment lined up in Austin. She was going to take our dog and, I don't know, basically just kind of start a whole life by herself. Yeah, I guess that's it.
That sounds terrible. The new car, how is she paying for that?
She makes good money because she's currently interning with the company that she is going to work for. And
that's Extreme something or other?
Extreme Networks, yeah. And she was a really good student. I think she had higher than a 4.0, so she had a lot of financial aid that allowed her to use the money that she got from working as kind of spending money or investing money. So yeah, she had wanted a new car for a while. Hers had been giving her problems. And she went home for a week. She ended up financially helping her or not, but they spent all week. Last week, Kaylee texted me and called me 100 times about asking my opinion on what car she should get, because I helped her do her car shopping from her previous car.
Were you happy for her, or were you frustrated that she seemed to be moving on?
I was happy for her.
Her taking the dog, is that something you agreed to?
Yeah, she was the one who wanted a dog, but at the time she lived in the White's apartments, and they're not allowed to have any dogs there, so I kind of raised the dog in my house last year, and I told her, she bought the dog with all her money. I told her, like, I'm more than happy to have this dog in the house, come see it whenever, I'll bring it over to your place. It just can't really be there at all times.
Were you in the same house you're in now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I mean, she wanted him, and I didn't. She had spent the last 4 months with him, and he was living with her. And I wasn't going to argue it, and she bought it. When she bought the dog, or when we were buying the dog, I told her I'll help her with anything besides financially. So.
Okay. On the 13th at 2:15 a.m., she sent you a text. I have your vape you can come pick it up at my house. And you didn't see that till the next day.
Yeah.
So you didn't go over to her house to pick the vape up because you didn't see the message. Is that correct?
I still think it's at the house, yeah.
The vape. What'd the vape look like?
It's just like black.
Remember the brand?
Baton.
Can you spell that for me?
Baton.
Okay. I think Rich asked you this earlier, but I'm going to ask you again because it just came to my mind again. Do you remember if any of the people that were living in the house with her or any of the rest of them, if any of them had any sort of a large knife that was distinctive?
No, I don't.
Do you think you would have known that?
Probably not, no. But I know that like Maddie and Kaylee would never have anything like that. I didn't know the other girls that well.
Okay. Back to Xana. Do you know any of her family members?
I'm not sure if she's still going to school over there or not.
So she was Xana's sister was a
I don't know what house she was in, but I know she was in a sorority over there.
Okay, so about Xana, you don't recall Xana having a boyfriend other than Ethan?
Not that I know, no.
And she's the one with the boy.
Yeah.
So I noticed in some social media postings, and I can't even tell you who they're from exactly, but Xana is described as somebody who's sort of a defender and a strong person that sort of protects people. And you earlier sort of described her as what were your words? Loud and outgoing. Did she ever have problems with people?
No, I can't think of a single one. Like I said, she's very likable. Like, I don't even know of anyone she didn't get along with. I think she did kind of move out of the house she was living in last year. I'm pretty sure she lived with last year, and I think that Xana kind of liked partying more than them, but that's the only possible conflict I can think of.
So the house that they lived in has been described by some people as a party house, that there were often large parties there and people coming and going. Is that true?
Yeah, more so at the beginning of the school year, I feel like, but yeah, it's definitely is.
When would the beginning of the school year have been?
Kind of when everyone came up from like their hometowns, and everyone was kind of excited to see each other. It kind of seemed like a central hotspot every weekend.
Now, I didn't have civilian or Greek experience of college. So can you just explain to me, like, are these exclusive parties? Could just anybody from the street wander in? Was there an element where if you're not part of a certain house, you were kicked out? Like, particularly with regards to this home.
It's a little tough to say, especially in this situation, because Kaylee wasn't. Kaylee has friends that are a different group of people than. So there's definitely like a mixed crowd coming in, but if there's someone that no one recognized, they would be kicked out.
And what would that look like?
I mean, in Moscow, it's a very common thing. Like, there's a lot of people who are not part of Greek life that try to get into parties and stuff, so usually it's a girl ask a guy to ask someone to leave. I've never heard anything more than like come on, dude, like, let me stay. Like, it's usually not a big deal.
So they're usually allowed to stay, or they're usually...
No, like, I mean, if no one knows them, they're usually not welcome, but I mean, it takes them to know one person, I guess, to be able to be there.
So the chances of an unknown person being able to come to these parties and learn the home would be not likely?
I think it could happen. I talked about this with the Moscow PD, that because of the way they just have so many friends and it is a party house, I don't think if one of the girls saw a guy walking through the house on a Saturday night that they didn't know, I don't think they would think anything of it.
They wouldn't even bat an eye. Just some random dude just walked through their house.
I mean, the girls that live there have guys over. I think that they would assume it's someone that they're with. I don't know as far as like the door code, if people were given that or not. I did know it. I know like Ethan knew it, obviously.
Well, so the access point, the kitchen, we don't have the map that you drew, but the slider from the kitchen on the second floor, how there's a code to get into that, or was it just a manual?
The back door was just a flip slide.
Was that commonly locked or commonly unlocked?
I think it was locked most of the time. I know Kaylee always locks her doors.
So to get in the front door, there's a keypad?
Mm-hmm.
A digital keypad or a mechanical keypad, or what? What's that?
It's like, digital, like there's 8 buttons.
And that's locked?
Yeah, it's always locked unless you type the password in.
Okay, so I'm envisioning who's getting into this house at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Presumably the doors are locked. They didn't find any signs of forced entry. They didn't find any broken locks or broken glass or any of that.
Yeah.
So either somebody let them in, or they knew the code to get in, or a door was left open.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So in your experience with this place, how many times have you been to this house since the beginning of the school year?
I don't know. 15. None of which, like, the last month, though, probably only 3 or 4 times. Just kind of for exchanging the dog or the dog's items.
I'm sorry, so in the last month, how many times have you been there?
Probably 3 or 4.
And you knew the code?
Yeah, I remember Moscow PD calling me a few days ago. And I couldn't remember it, like, off the top of my head, but I just, like, remember typing it in, if that makes sense.
What is the code?
I don't know. that's what I told Moscow PD, but then they called me back and said that wasn't it, so I called the property management company and had them give it to Moscow PD.
You called the property management company to have them give the code to Moscow PD?
Yeah.
Why didn't Moscow PD call the property management company?
I don't know. I just said if it's helpful, I can give my property manager a call. I know it's the same one that I ran through.
Oh, okay. So same property manager you ran. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So it's a sequence of buttons that you remember pushing, not necessarily the number of the buttons.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
So your brain kind of has like where people have on their phone, they do like a little, so your numbers you don't remember, but you can just, you kind of know how the pattern goes in your brain.
And kind of back to what you were saying as far as how someone got in their home. I could see it likely as them letting someone in, only because if those calls were to me or before the incident happened, I don't understand why they wouldn't have called police rather than me, unless it was just them calling me to say like, hey, this guy's acting weird, like, or he's like being aggressive or something. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so the text to you about come pick up my vape, that's at 2:15 a.m. They are last seen on video at the grub truck, I think at 1:45. So we don't know where she was when she sent that. She could have still been on her way home, or she could have been home. Not sure. And I don't know. Other officers may know the answer to this question. I don't know how she got from the grub truck back to the house, whether they walked.
I do know.
Okay.
That's another name that could be worth looking into. His name is...
Spell the last, please.
Not certain. He drives for Uber. I think he's like in his mid-30s. But there's a select few college girls that he likes to give free rides to. So he doesn't like go through the Uber app. He just kind of takes calls on command.
Has Kaylee ever used him as a driver?
Multiple times. I know he's been doing it for years, where older have kind of passed on his number to her. I've always thought it was weird. I've told Kaylee that. I've asked her to stop using him for rides. But she just says, like, no, he's like a really sweet guy. He's just lonely.
But he didn't charge her for Uber rides?
He never does.
Does he expect reciprocation in some way?
No.
Seems odd.
I don't know if I'm understanding what you're saying.
So most people don't do stuff for free. That gets old quick.
Right.
So I would assume if a guy's...
That's why I always thought it was...
Right. So you thought, has he done that with other girls? Had he given them rides and consummated that with some kind of physical intimacy later, or...
I doubt it, just based off the girls who I know gave him...
What's he look like?
He actually just requested to follow me on Instagram like 2 days ago.
Is he physically fit and attractive, or is he sort of a older, not so attractive guy?
I don't think he's not fit, but he's not.
Is he the kind of guy that somebody like Kaylee would want to have a relationship with?
No.
Because why?
Just a little like nerdy, like.
How old did you say? 30s?
I would guess in his 30s, yeah. I've gotten a ride from him once with Kaylee. This is when we were dating. She said, hey, the ride's here, and we're leaving the club, and we hopped in. I just figured it was an Uber until he talked about it.
in Moscow. Is that him or a different one?
It doesn't look like him. I could pull up his Instagram.
Does he give free rides to anybody besides cute girls?
That's not that I know of. I don't think anyone asks. But I do know, like...
So this has been going on long enough that this is a multi-year thing where older girls at the house say, hey, here's this guy's number. Do they go through Uber or do they just call him directly because they have his number?
or text him that.
You said he would go off there and turn off his Uber thing?
I know he didn't do it like through the Uber app, so I think he would just kind of pause his Uber driving.
You said he would go down to Lewiston and
Yeah, Kaylee's told me
conditions?
a story about how her friends were at a bar in Lewiston at like 1 a.m. and they gave him a call, and he drove through the blizzard down the Lewiston grade down to Lewiston, and then picked him up and brought him back to Moscow. Which just kind of seems bizarre for someone to do that.
I'm not trying to lead the conversation, but you mentioned something about the fact that you thought they had gotten an Uber that night?
I had no idea how they got to and from until he actually did reach out to police and told them that he gave them a ride to the bar and back from Grub Truck to their house.
How do you know that?
Kaylee's sister told me that he had talked to the police and has been cooperative. And I also got footage from a neighbor's doorbell camera, searched through that, and based off the time he left at Grub Truck, based off the time the girls left Grub Truck, at least leaving the camera, it does match up from when he drives by the house to drop them off, and he turns around and 51 seconds later he drives back the other way.
What kind of car?
I know that he drives a so it was a little tough to tell on the video.
Where's the footage? Does someone have it?
I have it.
Where?
On my phone, but I have no service. The girls who live there at that neighbor house.
Where did it come from?
They have like a doorbell camera.
A ring or something?
Yeah, I could show you which house on that map.
Do you know who the...
Can you not get into our Wi-Fi?
I think we drew on this yesterday. I think that's the camera you're talking about.
Yeah. In the cases.
Yeah. There's a trick to it, so try to get into it. Sometimes it'll be.
You didn't do that. I'm gonna.
You want to take a break? Do you want to take a break?
Bathroom. Yeah, let's take a break for
All
a
right,
second. Why does that?
Let's take a break. We've been at this for an hour and 22 minutes. It is.
There you go.
It's 11:26 a.m. We're going to take a break.
If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already, and please don't forget to make sure that the notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.